Did I rat myself out and tell everybody after? Of course I did, because of course that would happen to me. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are having a lovely, wonderful, fantastic day. My goodness, I look unwell. So you guys, today I figured I owe you all an update. I keep disappearing for multiple days at a time. There's all sorts of stuff going on, and I just feel like I need to sit down and update you guys. I have been trying my best to keep you updated on what are those social media things called? Twitter, kind of on Instagram a little bit. I forget Instagram exists sometimes, and then also on the community tab here on YouTube. So I've been trying to keep you guys a little bit baby. Just a small precious baby. I can't let you run around by yourself, bud. You gotta stay in here. But I thought I would just make a video and let you guys know everything that has been going on. The good and the not so good. So that is what we're gonna be doing today. I'm gonna put some makeup on this face, don't worry. I'm gonna make it put it on this face. But I do want to apologize for all of these sounds happening in the background. So Tater really doesn't like being confined to one room. He likes to be able to just run about, just run everywhere. But unfortunately right now, which I'll get into more in a little bit, he does have to stay here in the room with me, which he is not happy about, so you guys can hear that in the background. I'm very sorry. There is also some thunderstorming going on here behind me. Pretty much first thing this morning we had to collect the boys, get some pillows and blankets and some water, and get into our master closet because we don't have a basement and there were severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. Everybody's good, everybody's fine. It is still just kind of thundering outside, but no more tornado warnings, so that's good. So yeah, I'm sorry for all of the background noise. So getting on into this, the first update I have for you guys, which really, it's not much of an update, I guess, because it happened a little while ago, but I did get married. Yeah, it happened. I did get married. I know that a lot of you guys have been asking for pictures of the dress or pictures of the wedding. It took me a long time to be able to get some previews from my photographer, but I did finally get some. I shared those over on Instagram. So I'll put my Instagram here. Also on the YouTube community tab page, there's a little link, and if you click it, it'll take you to the pictures even if you don't have an Instagram. I guess I need to put on makeup. Yeah, those are just kind of the preview shots. I will be getting my final shots in my full gallery later on, and I'll share more pictures with you guys. I did also get a videographer, so hopefully there will be a, I almost said music video. Not that. There will be a wedding video. I got married November 12th at Ashford Acres Inn in Cynthiana, Kentucky, and I love the venue. It was a wonderful kind of all-in-one venue. We had our rehearsal dinner there, we had a reception, our ceremony. Being from Kentucky, most wedding venues are barns, we have found, and the barn aesthetic I think is really beautiful for a lot of weddings. That wasn't what I was going for. However, where I got married, it was still kind of a barn. It was, yeah. But there's also an old house on the property that was kind of like a bed and breakfast hotel, so we were able to stay there the night before the wedding and the night of the wedding, which was so nice. And then we actually got married and had the reception inside what they called the event barn, which was a kind of barn-like, but it didn't have dirt floors. So it was a little bit different than a regular barn. I'm telling you guys, we looked at a lot of venues, so many venues, and it was either literal barn, incredibly expensive, or it was kind of a event hall space, and the carpets were never pretty. So I was well, I don't know what to do. But we found this place in Cynthiana, which is an hour away from us. A little bit of a drive, but it wasn't too bad. Oh, that's still bruised. It was just a really picturesque place, and we loved the idea of getting married in an old house, which is apparently impossible. Not enough space to hold as many people as we wanted to have. As I mentioned, I live in Kentucky, and we just have the weirdest weather ever. It's so strange. So a couple of days before I was to get married, it was 70 degrees. That weekend, the day before and the day of the wedding, it was freezing. It snowed. It was 30 degrees on my wedding day. Snow flurries in the air, and that wouldn't have been too big of a deal, but the event barn didn't have any central heat or air, so we had to put out heaters and stuff, and everybody was a little bit chilly, but I still think it was a wonderful day. I really do. I think it was a beautiful day. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I did my own nails for the wedding. I did my own nails and I did my own hair. No, I did my own makeup, but during the ceremony, right at the beginning, so I'm tearing up, obviously. I'm crying. As soon as I'm walking into the building, I'm about to cry. I had just got done crying because I did a first look with my dad, and if I see my dad tear up for even a second, I'm bawling. So I just got done crying outside, and then we go inside. I'm about to cry again. I get up to the altar, and my now husband, Jeremy, is standing there. Since the waterworks are starting up a little bit, my nose starts to run, so I'm doing this business, and as I do this, my fingernail falls off into my hand. So I'm standing there, at the ceremony, holding my fake finger in my hand, trying to hold Jeremy's hands like this. And he keeps trying to, like, you know, get his fingers into my fingers, and I'm like, so for most of the ceremony, I have a long fake fingernail that I bought from Amazon in my fingers. I'm standing there going through the whole ceremony. And at some point, because the officiant was actually my husband's teacher in school, so like they had, you know, kind of like a joke and rapport, and at some point Jeremy lets go of my hand and like motions or something. I don't think he finger gunned. He just let go to do like a motion to the officiant, and at that time I was able to quickly just toss my fake fingernail on the ground. But you know what he didn't notice? I don't think anybody else did. Did I wrap myself out and tell everybody after? Of course I did, because of course that would happen to me. It was a really lovely ceremony. I don't remember seeing like any of it. I remember seeing Jeremy's face, and like that was about it. I hope the flowers and stuff look pretty. I don't know. And then we had some pictures, and we had a cocktail hour in between with a massive charcuterie board. It wasn't a board, it was a table. It was a charcuterie table. There's like pepperonis in the shapes of roses, so much meat. And then we had the reception after, which was really nice. It was actually a ton of fun. Like we were dancing and singing. They played, you know, some stuff from back in the day, my high school days. And we had some MCR going, Killers. So me and Jeremy and our group of friends and all the, you know, the younger folk, kind of younger folk that were there were like screaming at the top of our lungs to the Black Parade and things like that at the wedding. But it was a ton of fun. But yeah, so that's update number 1. I got married. Update number 2 is I went to Scotland, and it was amazing, and I would love to go back immediately. So we decided to honeymoon in Scotland in late November and early December, which is a little bit different than your standard, you know, like beach honeymoon vacation kind of thing. It's slightly different, but it was lovely and beautiful and just relaxing, and we ate so much food. We ate so much food. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but for a while when I was making videos, I didn't have my wedding band on because it wouldn't fit. My fingers just popped up. It's fine. Scotland is beautiful, and I really do like immediately want to go back. Actually, my parents are planning on going here in about a year or so, and I think we're gonna go back with them for at least a week. I'll try to throw in some pictures so you guys are like mildly entertained. But yeah, Scotland was really great. We were there for a very long time. We did not intend to be there for as long as we were there, but flights were ridiculous. They were so expensive. So it was cheaper for us to go 5 days early, so a week almost longer than we had anticipated, and get a hotel room for 5 days than it was just to book a flight just there on the time we had anticipated. And you know, I was actually pretty nervous about that. Where's my brush? I have no idea where anything is. This table is an absolute disaster. If you guys could see it. You don't actually want to see it. You really don't. Okay, I'm just gonna use this really old kind of gross one. That'll be fine. My goodness, I've already forgotten what I was saying. My brush. My broken brush. Yay! I don't know. We were there for like 20 days. It was a long time. Oh, I was really nervous about going because I had never been anywhere for that long. I didn't want to leave the boys behind. I knew I had a lot of work to do for YouTube. Our store was open. Like there's a lot of reasons I didn't want to leave for that long, but I figured this is probably the only opportunity in our lives to be able to take a 20-day vacation to Scotland. Why not go ahead and go all out for our honeymoon? And it was really, really nice. We had a wonderful time. We went to the Highlands, which are absolutely gorgeous. We went to Glencoe, Lake Loch Ness. We took a boat ride on Loch Ness, you know, trying to spot Nessie. All that was really fun. We had a fabulous bus driver who told us all sorts of like Scottish history on our way there. We also visited Glasgow, but mainly we stayed in Edinburgh. It's like my favorite place. It's literally my favorite place I've ever been. Old Town Edinburgh specifically. It's like 1 mile long. It's just a little place. Old Town Edinburgh it's my favorite. They had this giant Christmas fair thing with so much food. Oh my, the food. We didn't really do anything crazy or anything. Like I said, it was just like kind of like a lot of eating. We had tea. We had afternoon tea at the castle, which was super fun. And yeah, we just did a lot of walking and a lot of eating, and it was a great time. It was a lovely, wonderful time, and I'm very excited to go back. Okay, so that is the updates for like, you know, wedding, honeymoon, kind of the middle of November into early December. And then from there, things get a little not so cute and fun. So this is kind of more of like the updates of like where I've been and why there are huge gaps in my posting schedule, and like why I'm not done with advent calendars yet. This is that part. So number 1, when we get back, Jeremy tests positive for the so we were put into quarantine for several days, like 5 days or something. He is feeling really bad. I also felt really sick, very weird, very disoriented. I'm guessing some of it was like jet lag or something because of like the time differences and whatever. I don't know. I felt non-human, literally non-human for a few days up to a week of returning back from Scotland. So that was immediately when we got back, and then right after that we were able to go to my family's Christmas, which was really nice. We get together every year, me and my family get together every year with like 30 of us, and we do a white elephant Secret Santa passing gift kind of thing, and it's a lot of fun. All the presents are really goofy and silly, and we've been doing this for years, but because of the vid, we haven't been able to do it in like the past 3 years. But we had a really great time. It was really wonderful. I'm glad I got to see almost all of my family. It was really, really nice. But when we got back from that little trip. So when we got back from that little trip, the first thing we did was actually go look at a house. Jeremy and I are looking for a home or a plot of land to build a home on. I love this house. It was my grandma's house, as you guys know, and my dad did a lot of like the contracting, construction kind of stuff for it, and it makes me very sad, the thought of leaving this house. But I think because I do work from home and I take up so much room with all of my stuff and boxes and things are just kind of overflowing the house all the time, it gives me a ton of anxiety, to be honest, just to see like mess, and we don't really have a place to store like all of these boxes and that's just the stuff. So as sad as it makes me, the thought of like leaving this house, I feel like we just need a little bit more space, and we would love like a little bit of land maybe, you know, for like the boys and future boys. So we are considering moving, buying a house, or purchasing some land. My dad is going to build us a house, which would be so nice. But anyway, we got back and we went to look at a house, and then that night we also went to Somerset, which is where my husband is from. And by the time we were leaving Somerset, I started feeling pretty sick. Like I was like, I'm not feeling so great. And then we made it home, and then I told Jeremy, I was like, I just need to go like hang out in the bathroom for a little bit. And then I started profusely vomiting all night long, the whole night. This is a pretty rough story, so I understand if you don't want to listen to it, but I was violently shaking. I was violently shaking so much that I got into the bathtub because I was like, I can't handle this anymore. I was like, I need some hot water. I cannot stop literally vibrating. So I got into the bathtub. And you know how I said I was profusely? I was in the water. I was in it, and then I set up in the water. Yeah, so it was a rough night, and then that scene, whatever it was, turned into something in my lungs, and then something like up here, and I'm still trying to get rid of it. Like I'm still kind of raspy, and I have like mucusy stuff still in my lungs and throat. But the interesting thing is that the next day after I had that episode, I got a little like text in my family group chat. Like every single one of us is in a group chat together, and it was my uncle saying that my aunt was insanely sick and like, you know, profusely and whatever else all night long. And I responded like, oh, so it's not just me? And then after that, literally like 15 of my family members were like, same. So we all got sick. It wiped us out. I mean, it was really, really rough, and it lasted for so long. That's another reason that I was gone for quite some time, is I was just so sick. I couldn't really talk. Like I was really struggling. That takes us up to like Christmas time, and thankfully I started getting a little bit better by Christmas. I was still, you know, coughing, hacking, that kind of stuff. I accidentally fell asleep on Jeremy's grandma's couch during her Christmas Day event because I was on medicine and I just felt terrible. But yeah, so we had Christmas, and it of course was lovely. I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And again, I was so sick I really couldn't even decorate for Christmas, which made me so sad. And Jeremy knew that, so he actually got out like our Christmas decorations, and he decorated for me, which was so very, very sweet of him. Alright, so then after Christmas, we ended up getting like, you know, really bad weather kind of like across the country, I think. Like everybody was having some really bad weather, some really intense low temperatures. It got into like the negatives here, not like super negatives, not like -40 that I think they're reporting like up north, but you know, like -5 degrees, that's very cold for us here. We have two stores next to each other. We have Apparitions, which is our current store, and then we have Second and Main, which will be opening sometime in March. So my dad went over to Second and Main and just, you know, let the faucet drip. Everybody knows about the faucet drip, and you turn on the faucet drip so the pipes don't freeze. So he went and turned the drip on in there, and the pipe in the sink itself, like not in the wall, it froze because the bathroom itself was so cold that the water that was dripping couldn't go down the sink anymore, and then it ended up overflowing, so the bathroom flooded. So that was at 2nd and Main, so you know, next door to Apparitions. And then the next day our landlord from Apparitions called and she says the back rooms and the basement is flooded and it's pretty bad. So I throw on some like rain boot kind of things and like change really fast, and we get over to Apparitions and we walk into the back room. So in the back of Apparitions, it's a very old building, it's built in like 1882, 85, something like that. So we go into the back, and fortunately where I was picturing the flood to have been was the back bathroom that we have next to all of our clothes. I was picturing just like destruction, like pure destruction, but fortunately it was in like the back. So, and we do have a bunch of stuff back there. We keep a bunch of inventory. There's also a bathroom back there. Okay, I can't do this real fast while gabbing. Let me in 1 second. I'm gonna do some little eyeliner and I'll be right back. So anyway, we go into like the back of the store, and there's about like this much standing water all over the floor. So what I was really sad about is we got some books, actually a lot of books, from our friend Harry, a family friend who unfortunately has passed, and he was an older man, and he collected books. And when I say collected books, I mean like hundreds of thousands of books. And not just, you know, random books. They were like from the late 1800s, early 1900s, just hardback, antique books. And some of them were being stored on the floor in boxes, and like the boxes are fully soaked through, so the books are fully soaked through. And I was very, very sad about that, because that's just something like you can't replace, you know, antique 100-year-old books from your friend who's passed. Like I was kind of emotional about that. So then we went downstairs, and they had told us that when they got there, like the water was like raining from the ceiling. So there's a bunch of water in the basement. We had one room that was like full of like storage stuff, and it all got very wet. The ceiling was wet and the walls were wet, so our landlords have had to go in and tear down the ceiling and take out all the walls and take out the flooring, and we just had to go through and basically get rid of what was wet and dig through and make sure, you know, we could save what we could. I brought in fans and dehumidifiers, and we finally got most of that like dried out. I was able to save a good amount of vintage clothes. We took all of the books that got wet, because like I'm pretty attached to them, to the news store and laid out tarps and kind of laid them out, hopefully to let them dry. But I feel like there's probably a few hundred books that are just, they're gone. Unfortunately, it makes me very sad. After we finally were able to get things under control and dried out and salvage what we could, and like I was washing vintage clothes by the load, like so many loads of vintage clothes. And then actually the day that I told Jeremy that it was my final load of clothes, I finally got all of these clothes that were like just mushy with basement water clean. We get another call from our landlord, and the basement of 2nd and Main is now flooded. And not only is it flooded, but it's running through the wall into Apparition's basement that we just dried out from the last flood. We rushed down there. I'm like panicking at this point. I have a lot of anxiety, like a lot of anxiety. So I didn't know exactly what we were walking into again. And I was just like, why does this keep happening? We get down there, the basement of 2nd and Main, thankfully it doesn't have a bunch of stuff in it, but I could literally hear the water like rushing. Fortunately, there is a sump pump down there, so the sump pump I think was doing a lot of heavy lifting, keeping the basement from just filling up to the top, because it got into, there's like 2 little bathrooms down there that are on raised platforms, a good foot up, and it got into that. I can't imagine how much water would have been down there. Our landlords, which are really great, they had moved a bunch of our stuff at Apparitions out of like the path of the water, which saved, I'm sure, a lot of things. And I'm really glad that she even came to check on the basement, because she wasn't going to, and if she hadn't of, I mean, it would have been really bad. So we're kind of separated into 2 teams. One team is working on the 2nd and Main basement, just like scooping out water. Our landlord for that store is so sweet and so nice, and much older man. He's an older man, and he was down there in his little rain boots just scooping out water with a snow shovel and like doing things, and I want to tell him so badly to like go home. It's freezing down here, there's mold, like you do not need to be down here. He really wanted to help. Next door, we were over there again trying to throw away wet stuff, save what we could, dry things out, and it was just all hands on deck for a little while. Now the basement of 2nd Main, all the walls had to be torn out. I mean, it was just soaked into the walls. They were wavy. Right now, things are still drying. Things are being fixed. We're trying to get flooring and that kind of stuff back into Apparitions. We're trying to get walls and stuff back into 2nd and Main, and hopefully we will be fixed. It would all be fixed soon, because we're supposed to be opening a 2nd and Main. It was going to be the 1st of March. We've already pushed it back 2 weeks. So we're supposed to be opening a 2nd and Main in March, and we really need that area to kind of like relocate everything into working order so we can get that store open. Yeah, that took up a lot of time, and I'm so sorry again. Big gap there with posting videos. Now, this next part is the worst that's happened, and it might not be a good idea that I've waited to put on mascara till now, because this involves Tater, and anything having to do with like bad things and my babies, my boys, makes me very, very sad and nervous and anxious. Look at him back there. Oh, I've been covering him this whole time. He's back there resting. But the other night, we were in bed. It was about 2:30 in the morning, and Tater always crawls under, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry, always crawls under the covers next to me and like curls up. So he went ahead and he was outside of the covers, and then he crawled into the covers, and I just kind of covered him up, and then seconds later he starts convulsing, and he was shaking and convulsing. I pulled back the covers, and just seeing him like that, just so like rigid and shaking, I had no idea what was going on. This is the first time this has ever happened, and I didn't know what I was looking at. I'm sure we did not do what was appropriate in the time because we didn't know what was happening. My first thought was, he's choking, there's something blocking his airway, he can't get air, because he eats everything. He will literally eat anything and everything off the floor. He'll eat like anything he can get his little mouth on, he will eat. So I kind of like poked my fingers into his mouth, and I could tell that his tongue was like rigid and kind of hard back against his throat. Literally, I just assumed he wasn't getting air, he was choking. So I tried to breathe into his mouth like I was gonna give him CPR, because it was horrifying, and I thought we were gonna lose him just right there in the bed. And I was like holding him, and we were just saying, Tater, 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 you know, trying to get him to regain consciousness. I'm freaking out, Jeremy's freaking out. I'm saying like, call the emergency vet, like, you know, and Jeremy, he said like he couldn't even remember like how to type or spell emergency because we were so panicked at the time. So he was only convulsing like that for, I mean, in time, I don't really know, but it was less than a minute for sure. 30 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds. He came out of it, and he was like, his eyes were so dilated, they were fully black. And I was just looking at him, I was like, Tater, like so much relief that he was conscious again. And he just looked at me, and as I was like holding him, he started like growling. He started, and I was like, Tater, like I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. In that moment, he obviously didn't know what was going on either. This is not his fault at all whatsoever. But in that moment, like just coming out of that seizure that he was having a seizure, he became really aggressive. He started kind of barking and thrashing, and I was trying to like comfort him and like hold him, which I didn't know in that time is not what you're supposed to do. So he, without knowing what he was doing, kind of grabbed onto my chin and bit my chin, which it's healing up really, really fast actually, which is nice. He got me, there's just like 2 punctures under here, and this is kind of bruised and swollen, and then just some like little scratches through here. This one up here kind of like he bit in and it kind of like tore, so it might leave like a tiny bit of a scar, but that's not a big deal. And then just, you know, some little bites and stuff through here, but it's healing up really, really fast, which is good. But he had no idea what was going on or what he was doing. But at that moment, it was terrifying. I didn't know if he had suffered brain damage and like he just became aggressive, and I didn't know if that's how he was going to stay. And I think that's what I was so scared about. So he was barking and growling and literally screaming. I've never heard a dog scream like that before, but it was horrifying, and I couldn't help myself, which again is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to remain calm. Everything's supposed to stay calm. I was like screaming, and I had turned around and I looked at my chin. I guess your face just kind of like bleeds a lot in general. I think there's a lot of like little blood vessels and things, but I was like pouring blood from my chin, and it was like all the way down my sweatshirt and stuff. He wasn't Tater anymore. Like I said, his eyes were black. He was incredibly aggressive. Rin tried to go after him, I think just being protective, so I grabbed Rin, put him in the bathroom. Tater had gone to the bathroom on himself, which I guess is very common, and I called the emergency vet, literally shaking, screaming. I feel so bad for the lady who answered the phone. Like, I was like, oh my god, like I I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. So she was like, since it was so quick, like you don't have to bring him in, but you can if you want to. There's a chance that he might have more seizures. And I was like, yes, we're taking him in. So they were like, it'll be $400 for the vet to come in. And we're like, whatever. Like whatever you need, that's fine. Which I feel very lucky and fortunate that we were able to do that and able to get him this care. Like, you know, we have our savings and stuff. Like we were prepared to spend what we needed to make sure he was okay. And I know not everybody has that privilege, and I feel very lucky that we were able to. So we get him to the emergency vet and they said, do you want to put him on 24-hour seizure watch? And we said yes, and they came and gave us a quote, and it was, the highest amount was like $2,300, which again, a lot. So we put a deposit down for $2,000. Again, feeling very lucky and privileged and fortunate. And they took him, and he stayed there, and he ended up having another seizure at 8:30 in the morning, and they called us. So because it was at 8:30 at that time, they had to hold him for another 24 hours. So we were able to get him at 8:30 the next day, and basically they told us that he is most likely epileptic. There's no like true test for epilepsy besides ruling everything else out. So they did blood work, they did a bunch of stuff. So he is now on medication, and he will take it 3 times a day for the rest of his life. It's called Keppra. Right now we're trying to adjust it super slowly because they have us giving him a pill at 2 a.m. and that's just kind of hard for everybody. He does not like being woken up at nighttime. So we're trying to adjust it to where it's 8 hours in between each pill. So we're trying to adjust it to where it's a little bit more of a normal time for him to, you know, still be awake. That happened, and it was terrifying, and I have so much anxiety, so I have not been sleeping. Like going to bed at nighttime with Tater like is just a horrifically anxiety-ridden time for me. Every move he makes, every strange little sound, everything, I'm checking the covers and making sure like his head and neck are exposed out from the covers because I don't want him to be like, you know, feel suffocated. Like I haven't been sleeping very well at all. So it has just been a rough time. And then we actually took him again to his regular vet yesterday because I just wanted to get him like double checked. He also gets allergy shots because he gets itchy. He has allergies. So I wanted to see if it was possible to get his allergy shot with the medication and everything that he's been on. And he's been limping for a little while. My parents actually took him to the vet for us while we were gone. And the vet told them just to like, it'll probably work itself out. So he was like, keep an eye on it and it'll probably work itself out. And it was starting to get better. But I've noticed that it was getting worse. So while he was there getting rechecked out by his primary vet, they looked at his leg too. And apparently he also has a sprained ligament in his leg. So he has put on another medication, and he is supposed to be on rest, which Tater doesn't really rest very well. The medicine makes him a little bit sleepy, which is helpful, but we're also trying to keep him confined to one room so he's not doing like a lot of running, a lot of jumping. So it's been a lot. It's been a whole lot, and I'm very sorry that I have been gone for so long in like big chunks. Thank you guys so much for being so sweet on Twitter and on the YouTube community post that I did. You all were telling me all these wonderful like stories about how you've had dogs, or you know people with dogs that have or have had epilepsy and they have lived long happy lives. That makes me feel so much better to hear that, you know, that it is possible, and hopefully the medicine will control it and everything will be okay. He seems like fine, like he's just doing his Tater thing. I'm the one who's having a problem. I'm the one who's like constantly just like staring at him and everything that he does because I'm so afraid like at any moment something will trigger a seizure in him, because that was literally one of the most terrifying things I've ever been through. Like in that, like it was a horror film like happening right in front of me. I never ever want to experience that again, and I never want him to have another seizure. I know it is possible for him to have more seizures. Breakthrough seizures are very common, unfortunately, but I'm hoping the medicine will help control them and manage them, and that he'll be okay. He'll live a long, happy, healthy life. If something were to happen where he was to have another seizure, we know now what to do, which is great. I've been reading, researching constantly, so we'll be more prepared if it were to happen again. I pray it doesn't. I haven't finished my makeup. This is like the most boring makeup ever. I don't even know if I'm gonna post this video. I don't know. I feel like I needed to talk. I needed to explain things to you guys. Let me slap on some mascara now on the bottoms and stuff, now that I know I'm probably not gonna cry. So give me a second. Okay, so with all that being said, I'm not exactly sure if I finished whatever thought that I was saying before, like I turned off the camera that last time, but whatever. I've talked for a long time. Now I want to hear from you guys. So what do you want me to do? Do you want to still continue the advent calendars? Because I still have so many, but like we're well into January now, and I don't really know if you guys still want to see advent calendars. Please let me know down below in the comments if that's something that you still enjoy watching and would still like to see even this far after Christmas. Also, I would love to know, like, if we continue these advent calendars, what do you guys want to see after advent calendars are done? We will still continue to do like subscription boxes and stuff like that because I love them, and that's what, you know, a lot of you guys are here for those. So but I would love to mix in some like other content, but just let me know what you guys want to see in general. Yes to advent calendars, no to advent calendars. If you don't want to see any more advent calendars, what would you like to see instead? And then if you do still want to see advent calendars, what do you want to see after the advent calendars? And that's what I would love to hear from you guys. So yes, thank you for watching through this. I feel like this was kind of maybe just a little bit of like a therapy session or something for me. I know people are going through so much worse, like so much worse, but I was getting a little bit overwhelmed, a little extra anxious, which is not good for me, and it isn't. So thank you guys so very much for sticking with me through this. All I really want is for just Tater to be okay, and then everything will be fine. It'll all be fine. And just thank you guys again. Please consider subscribing if you would not mind. I promise this is typically how the videos go. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so very much for watching. Please go ahead and consider subscribing if you would not mind. It would mean the absolute world to me. So if you guys have a lovely, wonderful, fantastic day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!